Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back JT Smith, a serial entrepreneur and creator of The Game Crafter, an American board game manufacturer that focuses on short-run production. It's become the solution for game developers entering the market. JT, welcome to the binge. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Really, it's great to be back, actually.
It is fantastic having you back. It was just a matter of time, man. You guys have got so much going on that it was a no-brainer. So for people, just kind of a little quick housekeeping, people who maybe don't know the Game Crafter, we are going to give a brief overview here at the beginning. But I would encourage any of you to go back to episode 29 is when we last talked to JT. We went in super deep into the Game Crafter and into prototyping and how prototyping works. And for kind of budding entrepreneurs who are looking to get into the industry for the first time, we spent a lot of time going deep on that. So check it out, episode 29. We're going to add that in the show notes, but simply if you just scroll down in either on the boardgamebinge.com website, you'll find it, or even on the YouTube channel, scroll down episode 29.
60 some episodes. You've got a lot going on, man. That's crazy.
We got a lot going on. 2 episodes a week, Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 30-minute format. Check it out. JT, maybe start off for people who don't know who you are, and I know a lot of people do know who you are, but for those who don't, what is the Game Crafter? Explain that to us.
Sure. The Game Crafter is a print-on-demand solution for making board games. So you basically design a game, and once you have your game designed, you can upload artwork to our website, pick out components. We've got like pawns and dice and that sort of thing, over 3,000 of those that you can pick from. And we even make custom components these days too. So you can basically design your game, and you only have to order one copy at a time. So unlike, if you go print in China or India or somewhere like that, you'll have to order 2,000 copies of your game. So with us, you only have to order one. You get it in a week or two in the mail. And it's just really a simple way to work around game manufacturing. In addition, we also will do short runs of games. So if you're doing a crowdfunding campaign and you only want to do 100 copies or 500 copies rather than the 2,000-3,000, we can help you with that. Or if you need to send out 10 copies to various reviewers for some kind of a campaign that you're working on, we can do that. So that's what the Game Crafter is all about.
And I can say from personal experience, I've used the Game Crafter. And in the context of how I used it, it was for prototyping. So many people on the show know that I recently did a Kickstarter for Nutty Squirrels of the Oakwood Forest. That game started with my prototypes that I got through the Game Crafter. And I remember back when we were in episode 29, we were talking about it. And I remember at the time I said I was shocked at the quality that came through. Like I expected with short run or even a prototyping company, it'd be something kind of quickly done on a printer, or maybe, they do some of the work for you, maybe make it thicker cardstock or cut it out for you. But this stuff came back as like game ready components. Like this is like a game you could sell, right? And you guys do sell, right? A lot of people do actually sell games off your actual site, don't they?
Oh yeah, we sell over 100,000 games a year, actually. So, it's our goal is to make what we call shelf-worthy games. These are things. So when you get your game, your copy in the mail, it should look like it came off the shelf at any game store anywhere in the world.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed too is, and I know I'm going to jump around a little bit here, but
sure,
you've got this kind of the different kind of standardized box sizes. So I think it's called the stout box, right? The short stout box, the small stout box.
My favorite. Yep.
It is very, very close to the size of box I use for my Queen of Scots game, card game. And I started thinking about that. I was like, I should probably, when I do a reprint of that, actually size it to your box size since it's so close. And then when I'm doing subsequent games, the family could all kind of be in the same box size, right? If I do a small game that's in a standard box size, it would also make prototyping and things like that much easier. So if I want to create reviewer copies, the box size is going to actually match the finished kind of box size that we do. So
right. You're not alone in that. Yeah. Lots of people actually use our component, whether it be box sizes or card sizes or whatever, they'll use the sizes we create as their standard, even when they go to long run print, because that means they can make little expansions, or they can make, promo copies, things like that, that will all fit together, and it all, works basically. So Yeah, it's great.
How have you seen this industry change over the past year? We've had a lot of, like with COVID, obviously, a lot of the conventions and so forth have now gone either digital or not happened at all. People are not doing the same, in-person playing. I know, especially south of the border in the States, people are starting to get back to life and starting to get back to kind of meeting up and so forth. But we've gone a year and a half without any of that. Yeah. How have you seen this impact your business, and how have you guys maybe shifted your business to accommodate?
Right. Well, I mean, in the early days, it was rough. We were shut down for 2 months by government mandate. So yeah, that was horrifying. But we got back after the 2 months, and business actually just kept chugging along. I was scared. I was figuring, so in my personal situation, I don't know how your situation is at home, but in my personal situation, like you, I didn't go out and see a lot of people and that sort of thing. So the only person in my house is my wife, and she does not play board games. Yeah. So I was done. There was no gaming for me for a year. And so I was afraid that the world was like that, and therefore nobody was going to be, buying games from us or anywhere else for that matter. But that wasn't the case, because a lot of people actually played more board games because they have a family that plays board games together, or they're hanging out with friends that were in their social circle, their bubble, during this whole thing. And so it actually worked out well for us. We actually were on a steady growth curve, the same way we are as any other year. Yeah. So that worked out well for us. The one thing we have seen kind of around the industry, obviously you mentioned, there are no conventions right now. So that is a big deal, because that's how we interact with our fans. That's how a lot of publishers interact with their fans. I'm sure you do that too. When you go to conventions, you're, showing them your games, and getting to see their reactions is always a great thing. But without that, people have had to get creative. So there's a lot more tabletop simulator going on, a lot more stuff like this with Zoom going on. And then, there's some logistical things that I've seen, like it's actually hard to import stuff from China right now. Not because there's a quarantine or anything like that. It's because things are so backlogged from before that it's harder to get materials to make stuff. There's less room on the shipping containers. There's more overloading at the ports. And all of those things, that whole thing is a giant chain reaction that is causing everything to increase in price. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see anywhere from a 20 to 50% increase in the price of games over the next year. I could easily see a $50 game becoming a $60 or $65 game on the shelf at your board game retailer.
Yeah, I think VAT taxes is hitting that as well. It's kind of almost like this smorgasbord of just bad stuff happening to the industry, right? So you've got COVID, so people can't meet up. You got conventions being canceled. You got shipping rates now starting to skyrocket around the world. Right. Again, you're saying, you've got backup, so it's tough to get stuff out of the country. And again, all these things are linked, so it's a cascading effect. I kind of look at this industry, and then they get the VAT taxes, which in Europe changed their entire model. We talked about this on the last episode we had. And it is thrown a wrench into everything. Everyone's really kind of relooking the model. When I reflect kind of back on this past year, though, I think about, prototyping. I almost wonder if people who had, were under lockdown, or, maybe their jobs even said, hey, either laid off, or, hey, you got to work from home, and, you have all this extra time, or maybe you were commuting in the past and now you've got 2 hours extra a day and so forth. I almost started wondering if people started actually investing that time more into actually creating their games and prototyping and so forth. On one hand,
very well.
And then the other thing you're saying was with the tabletop simulator, right? So you see a lot more of people using tabletop simulator for prototyping, and to try to get that prototype right, because your iteration process is much, much faster, much more efficient, and it's much cheaper. So I'm almost wondering, are you seeing on your end now an increase in the quality of the games or prototypes people are having done with you, because they've already now gone through this iterative process in a digital format, where maybe in the past they wouldn't have. They've kind of put their idea together and would send it to you, where now they have kind of this step in between. Are you seeing like an improvement in quality at all, or?
So I can only comment it on one side of that coin. So I don't know that the games themselves are better, because I've only in the last 2 weeks started playing board games again. Like, I'm vaccinated, my friends are finally vaccinated, so I really haven't played that many games until just recently.
Yeah.
But I can say
Like the
that
design though, or
the design,
yeah.
like how things are laid out, how things are illustrated, everything looks really tight now.
Yeah.
So the stuff that's coming through, it's amazing what people are. A lot of times you'll see kind of really simple prototypes that, you just have some game icons art or, icons and some lettering, and it's like black and white prototypes. Essentially, we used to see a lot of that.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot less of that, and it's like full illustrations, full graphic design, nice typography. Like it's tight on even prototypes. So that's nice to see. So from that side, I can comment, yes, it's improved.
Now you guys haven't stopped. Like you've actually been continuing to adjust your business model and add new services into it. And I want to talk to you about a few of them. One, I think I actually probed last time we were talking. And then you said, well, there's something I'm kind of working on. And you didn't give me a lot of details at the time. Maybe you can give me more details now. But it was the Component Studio software that you're working on. Can you talk a little bit about what's that all about?
Yeah. So Component Studio, imagine that you had a graphic editor like Photoshop and a spreadsheet like Excel, and you push them into one program. That's what Component Studio is. And so what that means is you use the Photoshop-like interface to design one card for your game, or one tile for your game, or one token, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the spreadsheet element of that automatically designs the other 100 for you in a snap of a finger. So it allows you to create and generate your prototypes very quickly. And so the other thing that happens is let's say you need to edit something. You make one edit, one place in one card, and all 100 cards are updated instantly. It also will it'll export to the Game Crafter, of course, but also to just regular files, or to Tabletop Simulator to make it easier for prototyping that way, or to PDFs that you can give out like as print and plays. So it's just a tool that makes it really easy to design your game components very quickly. And I've been working on version 2 of that, which is hopefully going to come out later this year. It is a complete ground up rewrite of it, adding in basically every idea anybody has ever asked for Component Studio. We had, at the beginning of this process, we had 600 ideas in the idea system for Component Studio. We're down to 200 because I've already implemented 400 of the ideas. So
wow, it almost sounds like there's a little bit of like InDesign kind of how you can like make a change and it can impact multiple pages at the same time. Like you have global components to it, I guess. So you can set like a global component that hits all the elements, I guess. Is that how that works?
That is correct. And it's InDesign has a thing called data merge, if you've played with that, which does something similar to this, but this is so much more advanced than anything you can do in InDesign or Illustrator or any of those. In fact, I don't disparage those, because I still use all of those tools in addition to Component Studio. It's don't think of it as just another hammer. It's an axe or something beyond the other tools that you already had. But yes, you lay out a card, and then you can plug in variables into all these different things. And those variables could be images or icons. They could be fonts. They could be colors. They can be shapes and sizes of things. And so every card can be positioned just slightly differently to look how it needs to look, but it's all data driven. So it makes it very easy to make these kind of changes to things. And you can make just beautiful designs in like an hour. You can have an entire deck of cards designed.
That's awesome.
Which is not something you can do in Photoshop or Illustrator or InDesign. So,
and it's got to be, I guess, helpful for people who are maybe not designers, maybe don't even have access to design software, right? Like graphic designers, I mean. So this sounds like it'd be a tool that they could use online.
It's all web-based.
Yeah, and buy this expensive software. They just use what's built into the Game Crafter, and they can create their game. I know myself in doing various sites where I've putting print files and so forth together. It's a pain when you have to say, okay, now do 6 of this card, and you have to actually repeat the 6 cards, and then okay, I'm gonna do 12, and I'm gonna repeat the 12 of these cards. So being able to just say, here's the image, times it by 6 at the click of a button, I can see how that'd be pretty attractive to some people.
It saves so much time. I can't, you really have to try it. And there's a free trial. It does cost, actually. It's $10 a month. But it's month to month. There's no contract or anything. And we offer, discounts on it all the time. So you can get it for $5 or whatever. And there's a free trial. I recommend try it try it with a free trial. You'll instantly see why it's better.
Yeah.
And especially once you see Component Studio 2, it's crazy. I feel weird tooting my own horn about this, but this is a tool that I built for me originally. It was like my own tool just for making my own game designs. And somebody convinced me to actually make it so that it would work for everybody, so that, you know, people could use it once they saw what I was doing with it. And I did that, and I was shocked just how many people needed something like this. So
can this
it's
output
cool.
print files for you then to use with even other printers if you wanted to, or?
Yeah, technically it could. It will output a PDF or a CMYK PDF, so you could send it to another printer. Generally speaking, when you get to that, though, a lot of printers require these days to have really specific PDF tweaking settings. There's like I don't know if you know the PDF specification, but it is crazy, all the little details that you can put in from like InDesign or whatever. And I don't go heavy into that in here, because when you get to that level, you really need like InDesign or something along those lines. This is for that rapid prototyping phase mostly. But yes, there are some people that have used it directly with other printers, you know, just because it does export to a CMYK PDF, and they can just send it off to whoever, and plenty of people have done that.
Another thing I like about the Game Crafter, and I know this has been there since the beginning, but I find it handy, is that once you create your account, which is free to create an account with the Game Crafter, and you start working on a game, your files are always there. So you save, like, so I've got one on there right now that's kind of in progress, right? I might come back to it a month from now, I might come back to it 3 months from now, but I know the files are going to be there when I come back to it. So if someone is like I am, where you have tons of ideas for games in your head, and you're working on one game, and all of a sudden an idea pops in your head for another game, and it's like, oh, I should do this other game while you're thinking of this one, you can actually go plant the seeds, create a separate file or a separate kind of folder in the Game Crafter, and then park it and come back to it later on, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I want to do that in Component Studio too.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about your new 3D box tool. This thing is crazy.
The thing is so slick.
I'm going to share my screen so people can see it. I can't do the 3D spinning around effect because I don't have my graphics uploaded. But what they can see is they can see the 3D box. From my perspective, talk about why you created this first, and then I'll give you my thoughts.
Sure. So unlike a card or a game board, those lay flat. So it makes it fairly easy for people to visualize how the graphic goes on that component. But boxes are 3D. So you're creating a 2D image that has to be wrapped around a three-dimensional object. And that gets really complicated to think about in your brain, like just how conceptualize how it's going to look. And so a lot of people, that's where they'll make mistakes, is on the box. They forget to do bleed, or they don't take into account that, you know, this is going to wrap around a corner, and so you won't be able to read the text because it's wrapped around the corner. You know, things like that.
Glue spots and stuff.
Yeah. So we built this tool to make it easy for you to see this box before you've even printed it. So you're not wasting money printing a box that isn't going to work for you. And you can even, you know, I'm sure you'll show it, but you can even open up the box, you know, like, so you can look inside what the box is going to look like. You can spin it around 360 degrees. And we even built in a little tool to simulate drift on the box. So drift is when a print and a cut don't line up perfectly, and nothing ever does in the real world. Nothing is ever perfect. So dispel that from your mind. No matter what company you print with, nothing is ever perfect. So there's always going to be a little bit of movement on things. So you get to simulate that with the tool. You can show a little bit of drift, and so it helps people visualize and what their thing is going to look like and not waste money printing. But once we created it, we realized that there was a whole other use for it. Which is what a lot of people are doing. They're creating screenshots of their box, essentially. So they've got a pretty 3D view of their thing that they can share on social media or on their campaign pages or wherever. So
that's a great tool. I mean, creating, you know, I'll use Photoshop to do 3-dimensional versions of my boxes just by cutting and skewing, distorting. Right. But something like this, where you can upload the artwork and it creates it for you, and then with a click of a button you can rotate that box, that is super cool, and get it right to the exact angle you want it, and then screen grab it and then use that for, even if you're doing like a spec sheet, right? So say you're doing a spec sheet, a sell sheet,
Yeah.
You need to upload an image to Board Game Geek, like the Amazon. So you're going to sell on like anywhere you need to have a 3D image of your box, which is pretty much everywhere.
Right.
You can use that tool to do that, and it looks really good, and it's super professional, which I think is awesome. Like
it was such a happy accident when that happened. Like it didn't even occur to me that people would do that when we were designing it. So it's awesome that it has extra uses beyond what we designed it for.
That's cool. Let's talk about these acrylic shapes that you've got. So you've got these new, I guess you've had kind of like acrylic before, but now you got like the transparent. You can print on transparent acrylic. You can create tiles. You can create like standees. Can you talk a little bit about that as well, or?
Sure. So basically, we've had the acrylic shapes for a while, different colors and that sort of thing. And this is so that you can make your own game pieces. That's the whole idea. Like we have game pieces in our library, 3,000 of them, but a lot of times, you'll come up with a game about, I don't know, polka dotted zebras instead of striped zebras. So you need your own custom zebras, right? Mm-hmm. You can design those using the Game Crafter through our acrylic shapes. But the new ones that we came out with are clear, mm-hmm. and they're only printed on one side, but because they're clear, we can actually print for the opposite side and then print on top of that. So you have printing on both sides.
Oh, that's
but what that
crazy.
does is it makes it so you can have this big sheet of acrylic that's, like 10.5 by 8.5 inches. Like it's a big sheet.
Yeah.
And it's printed on both sides, even though we only printed it on one side. But by only printing it on one side, it makes the registration better and it makes the whole process cheaper. So you can actually have this giant sheet of acrylic with dozens of, little miniatures on there or whatever it is that you need. And it's relatively inexpensive to produce these. It's like $13 to make as many little pieces as you need.
So how do you,
for your game.
Just, I'm trying to get my head around this. So when you print it, do you then print white on top of what you just printed and then you print again?
Yeah. So we print color so that it shows through to the other side. Then we print a white layer and then we print again with a new color layer so that you're seeing on both sides.
So 3 passes.
Even though we only printed on one.
That's crazy. The standees on your website look amazing. So, people that know me know that I'm not a fan of standees. I hate standees. But I hate the standees where you have a little plastic base and then you've got like a paper or cardboard kind of insert because I think they look cheap.
Yeah.
These standees
look right?
really premium and really high end. I'm shocked actually at how good they look. And so someone can create pieces that look really, really high end, fairly low cost right through your site.
Yeah. Full color.
That's crazy.
And you can make, I've seen crazy things too, where people slot them together and make like a big dragon out of basically the flat acrylic, but it looks 3-dimensional when it's all put together. So you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. I've decided that like on my new games, as I'm designing them, I'm finally designing games again too. That's crazy because a year without it, but, and all my new games, I'm using the acrylic because it's better than cardboard. Like any place where I would use cardboard, I'm using acrylic now because it creates this cooler effect. So you have a greater table presence. It's just awesome.
And people can do printed meeples through you guys as well, right? So if they don't want to do acrylic, they want to do meeples, they can print their meeples as well.
Yep. We can print on meeples. We can print dice. You can make all kinds of different, whatever game components you might need for your game, you can make them custom now. So you don't have to rely on our library of stuff.
That's crazy. I'm going to give a shout out to some of the people that are listening here. So we got JD Brown, we got George, we got Our Family Plays Games just joined. Hello, awesome. Everyone. Thanks for joining us on this podcast. Glad you're joining us live. If you have any questions for JT, type in the chat box. We'll try to do our best to get to them all. Now, you've also introduced this analytics aspect to your business as well for your users. How does that work?
Yeah. So basically, a lot of people want to be able to. We've always shown things like how many people hit your page or how many sales you have, or those kinds of things. Some basic tracking, but what we haven't done is like trends over time. How many people visited your page on Tuesday and what URL did they come from and what web browser were they using and all that kind of stuff. That's really beyond us as a game company, we don't want to get into writing analytics software. It's not our thing. So we decided to work with a company, an external company, to do this. And the problem is there's this thing called GDPR, which a lot of you have probably seen a lot more emails from companies saying they changed their privacy policy. Yeah. That's because of GDPR. Well, the deal is that if we share data with a third party, that there's all kinds of legal implications for us as a company because of that. So we needed to figure out a way to do analytics without sharing data. And that's where this company called Goat Counter comes in. It's a crazy name, but they make an analytics package that we can plug into our system. And it allows you to track all of those things I just said, like what country are people coming from and what keywords did they search you for and what page linked to you and all that kind of stuff. But it allows you to track better your marketing efforts within our website so that you can see, okay, I had this blog post over here. Did that generate any leads, to actually getting sales? And you can see that kind of stuff now in the site because of this. So that's what the analytics is all about.
That's crazy. Now you had also started, I think it was in 2014, you created a game called The Captain is Dead.
Indeed.
And something pretty special just happened recently. Can you talk about what just happened with that game?
Yeah. So let me briefly tell people what The Captain is Dead is. It's a co-op board game for 2 to 7 players. Basically, the idea is that you are the crew on, like a Star Trek style ship, and everything has gone to hell, including the captain is dead. And so now you are working together as a team to get yourself out of whatever the situation is. And in the first episode of that game, the situation is that your engines are offline and the aliens are attacking you and you need to get the engines online. Well, anyway, been selling that game both on the Game Crafter and through AEG for the last 8 years or something. And it went. A video game version is now available as of January. It is no longer just a board game. It is also now a video game. And that is so cool to see that, to see your world get built into something new. So I'm super pumped about it.
And they can find that on Steam, right?
Yeah, it's on Steam. It's on the Google Play Store. It's on iOS App Store.
Oh, so you can actually do it on your phone and stuff as well.
Yeah. Oh, and I think it's going to come to Good Old Games at some point as well, GOG.com.
That's awesome. I'm just showing the stream, the Steam page right now for people who are watching live. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll have to actually check that out on my phone, yeah.
It's amazing to see somebody take your work and turn it into something like so on the board game, there are no voices for anything. So it's interesting to hear what the characters sound like. Right, because they did voiceover work for every character in the game, and that's what that character sounds like. I didn't come up with any of that, so it's really cool to see that kind of expansion as things go on, and it's a fun game. So please check it out.
So, what's kind of next for the game? Like, you guys are constantly adding on new services and so forth for your members, and as I kind of look at this thing continuing to build out, is there any plans to at some point kind of almost demolish the whole thing and replace it with almost like a new kind of operating software and so forth or we just keep adding on to it? Kind of what's your plans for the future with this? Sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, we have done a complete wholesale rewrite of everything in the past. I don't see that happening now. Instead, what we're doing is evolving everything. So last year we completely redid the face of the website. It's all new now. And so we'll probably continue to evolve everything as things go on. So like we're doing a lot more doing bulk now, and we've got some pretty cool announcements on the horizon for that, which I can't share yet. But there's some pretty cool stuff. But like our latest thing that'll be coming out very soon is we're going to be making clear, transparent cards. So you can actually make cards out of plastic and have them overlay on top of each other, so you can make game mechanics that actually make multiple cards come together. Sort of like Gloom, if you've ever seen that from Atlas Games, or if you've seen AEG has a number of games, and I'm forgetting the names of them off the top of my head right now because I'm on the spot, of course. But there's a whole lot of games out there that use plastic cards to make these kind of composable games. And so that's the thing we're working on right now. And so that'll be out probably by the end of the month here.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. You mentioned it, but I did actually have it on my screen. So I just popped up so people can see what it looks like. It looks cool.
Yeah.
It is, and there's so many different ways to use those, right? Whether it be, I don't know, through tiles on the board, actual cards that you're playing with, or if I look at like a game like Canvas, right, where they took it to the next level with the kind of whole transparent cards. And I think really, no limits it's just your creativity is the only limit out there, right? Whatever you can think of. And I'm sure somebody's going to come up with an idea that no one's thought of yet. To use those type of cards, but I think they're absolutely awesome.
Right. And I mean, honestly, there's things where you could do something crazy, like maybe you're just going to make a game that works in your pool, right? They're plastic. Yeah. They're not going to, nothing, water can't hurt them. So maybe you're just going to make the next board game that works in a pool.
Or even camping, I find. You go camping, right? We always bring our games camping, and they just get trashed, right? Because you're outside, a little bit of moisture gets into the cards and the board, and it's just a disaster. But if you can make a game that's predominantly plastic pieces, and again, be environmentally conscious, make sure you bring them back with you after camping. And it's a great way for the kids to have fun and not demolish your game in the same breath. On a personal note, I just want to say you've been amazing in offering people advice and in helping people in the community. I reached out to you during my last campaign on something that had absolutely nothing to do with your services. It was on 3D printing. And I had reached out to JT and said, hey, I'm trying to find a solution for printing my minis for people that want to do the at-home print and play. What do you suggest? And like, he got back to me in less than 5 minutes with a whole laundry list of, okay, try this site, try this site, try this site. Hey, if they're going to do it international, go to this site. It'll give you all different places international. They can go by postal code and so forth. It was amazing. And I really, really appreciated you doing that, because you didn't have to. It had absolutely nothing to do with the Game Crafter, but you were still willing to help. And when somebody reached out, so I want to personally thank you for that. I think that's completely awesome, and it's
hopefully I didn't overwhelm.
Oh no, it was great.
Sometimes I do that.
More was actually more in that case, so I do appreciate it. JT, it's been awesome talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast again. We'll get you back for another round, and maybe we'll give it another half a year. We'll get you back, and we'll talk about whatever it is you're working on at that point.
Awesome.
And thanks again for all you've done for this community. You take care.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Cheers. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply join the Facebook group Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.